Now, I'm not going to ask you to believe what I got to tell you, because I don't believe in that. I'm going to tell you from my experiences and the people that I've learned from, and if you can leave over the next few minutes with one thing that helps you be better, then our time together has been good. It's neat to see a lot of you that I know, and that we've had relationships together, and we've been building businesses together and doing different things. But you know, my experience has really come from outside of the business community. My two, what I would call not personal mentors, but people that I've studied, had the chance to spend time with, and have taken from them are John Wooden, who was the head coach at UCLA for so many years. And if you haven't read his book on leadership, you need to. It needs to be a textbook in the school systems. It is a fabulous piece. But get his book, Wooden, on leadership. I'll tell you, if you're not reading, there's one characteristic that is true to all successful CEOs. They're all different personalities, they're all different wirings, they're all over the place. But through all history of all studies, they all read. And they don't read Agatha Christie, and they don't read all the other, drama nonsense. Everything you need to know about people has already been written. There is nothing new. There's not going to be anything new. But you got to keep reading about people, and you got to keep learning. And sometimes, the best learning that you'll get is you're going to learn some things of what not to do. It's just as much as you're going to learn what to do. But no matter what, in every occurrence, make sure you're learning. Napoleon Hill wrote in one of his great principles of Think and Grow Rich that every single person that you meet, you have an opportunity to learn from. Would everybody agree with that? Here's the problem with the statement, and it sets up the stage for the rest of our day, and that is personal accountability. And we've got a real bad track of it in our society today. Because if you believe what Napoleon Hill says, that you will learn something from everybody you meet, then you have to believe, and you cannot contradict it, that everybody that meets you is learning something. Now the question becomes, and this is the true mark of leadership, what are they learning? What are people learning when they meet you? That's leadership. And it takes on a huge responsibility. Every time you meet a child, every time you walk into a school, every time you meet another young employee or another person that's moving up the ranks, what are they gaining from that encounter with you? Is it something to learn of what not to do? Or is it something to learn of what to do? And ultimately, that's the personal accountability question that each of you has to carry as a leader. We all have to do it. And guys, there's no such thing as being perfect. So don't even try to do it. It's just not going to happen. You're going to screw up. I'm going to screw up. It's just a screw up party. And the fact of the matter is that, it's all about who gets up last. It's not about who's going to make a mistake. You're going to make it, I'm going to make it, everybody's going to make it. But you know what? Who gets up last? If you stay down just because you make a mistake, don't look at yourself as a leader. You can't do it. You've got to make the decision that no matter what you encounter, you're going to step back up on your feet and get going again. Because somebody's counting on you to do that. Ultimately, somebody's counting on you to do it and to take on that responsibility. I want you to write this one down. Some of you have already heard it before. Change is inevitable. Personal growth is optional. Where you are at this moment, it will not crisscross again. If it is alive, it will change. This table is not alive. other than us destroying it, it's not going to change. Where you are, the moment you're in, and what's going on is never going to be the same again. But it's interesting that we all fight for the lack of change. And you just have to embrace it and know that everything is going to change. Now, the key to being able to handle change is, are you growing with it or are you not? If you're growing with it, you'll be able to handle it, and you'll be able to move change to be able to affect you. Any of you guys boat? Gals, anybody go out on boats? Come on, Mike, I know you got a boat, man. If you go out on a boat and you put a sail up and you have no rudder, where are you going? You're going to go wherever the wind takes you. Is there going to be wind? There's going to be wind. There's going to be change. Do you use the wind to get you to your target? Do you use the change to get you to your target? Or are you just going where the wind pushes you? Guys, the great part of this deal is that 99% of the world is being pushed by the wind. They have no rudder. They have no rudder. Therefore, wherever that wind is going, wherever that change is going, that's exactly where they're going to go. And they wind up someplace, and they got nowhere or no clue to where they are. You've got to have a rudder that's in the water that's telling you, this is my target, this is where I'm going, and this is the way I'm going to get there. And I'll tell you, you don't have to know how you're going to get there. You really don't. And I'll kind of take you through that as we go through over these next few minutes. Having an understanding of why you're going to get there is a heck of a lot more important than understanding how you're going to get there. Because if you already know how to get there, it's no fun. You know, there's nothing left really to go do. You're going to have to figure that out as you go, because everything's going to be changing. The other thing that you're going to have to be aware of, and we have a crisis with this in our society also, is that the greater the leadership, the greater the responsibility that you're given, the greater the judgment, the greater the burden, the greater the consequences. And what you find in leadership so many times is that, oh, I'm the president, so I'm exempt. It's probably a bad example, but, you know, 'cause that's the attitude. But I'm in Congress, I'm exempt. I'm CEO of a large corporation, I'm exempt. The last time I checked, every single person puts on their pants one leg at a time. They don't do anything any different. When they go home, their kids look at them, and you know what? You ain't nothing but dad or mom. And the greatest thing about being in business with kids and raising kids is you don't have to worry about it. Boy, you're going to get your humility check when you go home. They're going to put you right back where you belong, like it or not. Like it or not. Write this down. Self-awareness. Every morning when you get started, man, if you need to put this on your mirror, put it on your mirror. But boy, you got to do an ego check every morning. You got to be aware of who you are, because if you're not aware of who you are, you've got no ability to be aware of what's happening to you and the people that you're trying to lead. And by the way, you can't be a leader if there isn't anybody following. If you don't have the ability to influence people to where it is you're going, you're not a leader. Everybody likes to do leadership, leader, you know. Guys, you've got to influence people to be able to move toward a goal, and you don't have to have the responsibility and the power to be bestowed on you to get that done. You don't have to do that. And don't tell me that you don't have the ability to influence. Is everybody in here in some type of personal relationship? You know, you don't have to raise your hands when I ask you these questions, but in almost 100%, everybody's got some type of relationship someplace, somewhere. Guys, you've used your power of salesmanship, you've used your power of influence, whatever you want, you know what? You got it in you. Well, I don't like sales, I don't like that because I'm an engineer and I like to stay. Doesn't matter. You sold somebody on you. You did. Okay? So you've got the power of persuasion. You have the power of influence. I understand everybody's got all the different degrees. We don't have enough time today to get into those different disputes and arguments. Just understand, it's in you. You got it. You just got to make sure you know where you're going. In your self-awareness, the key to self-awareness, and write this down beside it, is to know what you're no good at. Know your weakness. Everybody loves what they're good at. But I got to tell you, the responsibility to be a leader is not to know what you're good at. What you're good at, you're going to be good at anyway. The responsibility is to know what you're no good at, and then go get the people around you to be able to cover that. If you don't have that, you can never be successful. And there's no such thing as the lone wolf entrepreneur. The lone wolf entrepreneur always drives off the cliff. Nobody's got the full package. You know, nobody's got the full package. I know there's people that want to try to convince you they got the full package. I know there's people that try to impress you with self-management and all this kind of stuff. Nobody's got the full package. Man, it takes all of us to make something happen. My son's just graduating in 2 weeks, and we'll be empty nesters in about 3 to 4. And if some of you have been there or some of you are on your way, I promise you, God will prepare you for an empty nester, and you'll be ready for it when it comes time. After the third teenager, man, I am wore out. It is time. When I look at Wes, we've got a picture that we're doing in the May magazine, because we highlight a lot of the graduating seniors every year. And we did a picture with him and 3 of his influencers, you know, under the concept of it really takes a village to raise a kid. And it's interesting because all 3 of them bring 3 different aspects to his life. But I'm going to tell you, by the time they get to that point, those are the people that are making the difference in their lives. What you've given them is back in the elementary and middle school. And you still got to be there. They'll come back to you around 23. You know, when they start to have to earn money on their own, they start realizing you're pretty darn smart after all. But in that meantime, it's good to get them surrounded by others. You know, it takes a group. It takes a family to be able to get it done.